The reason clients choose you over the next consultant isn't your certifications or your case studies. It's because they're seeing you, your face, your thinking, your perspective. Video is how that happens at scale. Hello, I'm Paul, and welcome to my podcast. And in this episode, I talked to Gideon Shalwick from Vubli. So it's VUBLI.ai. You will learn from Gideon why your personal brand channel will outrank your company channel every time and what that means for how you show up online, how to structure a short form video so viewers stop scrolling and watch to the end, and how to go from raw idea to published video across 6 platforms without hiring an editor or managing a team. Doesn't that sound wonderful? It is, and it's real. Gideon is a serial entrepreneur with nearly 20 years of experience in online video and software. He's the founder of Vubli, and as I said, that's spelled VUBLI, a distribution platform that cross-posts your short-form videos to YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, and X in a single click. And that's right, X is now doing video as well, with AI-generated captions tailored for each platform. He also runs a done-for-you video editing service for business owners who'd rather just hit record and hand the rest off to him and his team. Now over to Gideon from Vubli, VUBLI.ai. Great to have you here, Gideon.
Hey, Paul, good to be here.
Yeah, well, it's been a bit of a break. You were last on episode 192. So it's been a while between drinks, as us Aussies say, but
For
it's
sure.
great to have you here.
Yeah,
Um,
good to be back.
Yeah, and look, what I always know about you is you're always progressing and you're always looking at new ways to help business owners. So very excited to talk about the topic of video today. But why don't we hear in your own words, who do you love to help?
I love helping anybody who wants to use video to get more exposure for themselves, either their personal brand or their company brand. In general, personal brand seems to work better or it's easier than company brands. So if you've got a message and you want to get it out there, then I love helping you. So if you're a business owner, if you've got a tech sort of business and consultancy sort of business, and you're struggling to get more leads or more exposure, or you're struggling with your brand, or you don't have a good profile out there, I think video is one of the best things you can do to help grow that. And so I love working with those sort of people.
Fantastic. And how do you do that? How do you help them solve the problems of, leads, exposure, those key things?
Well, over the years, I've been doing this for about 20 years now, and so there's been various different ways that I've been engaging with people. But at the moment, mainly through our software that we create. So we've created some software called Vubli, that's VUBLI, Vubli.ai. And basically, it's a distribution software for short form videos. So you just upload your video. Assume your video is edited, upload your video, and then the platform will use AI to create all the assets that needs to go with it, and you just press one button and it goes out to all the different platforms. So that's mainly how we're serving clients at the moment, although we do have a select few number of people we work with where it's more of a done for you thing, where they really don't want to use the tools. They're too busy with what they're already doing, with working with clients or doing sales calls or just doing the actual work, and they just need a bit of help, but they don't mind sending us a quick video that they've just recorded on their phone or whatever method. So for those people, we like working with more on a personal level,
Yes.
and they just send us their videos, and we then take it from there. We do everything. We edit the videos for them. We get it ready for social media. We publish it for them. Make sure that that goes out at the right times, etc. All that sort of stuff. So there's a wide range, but yeah, I've done all sorts of things in the past as well. But that's currently where things are at.
Great. And look, if you've been listening to me long enough, and so firstly, thank you for doing that. But if you have, I mean, recently talking about, the change and the shift in our industry, let's call it the SaaS industry. And, I've been talking to, and I've got coming up on a podcast soon, a guy called Joe McBain, and he's been talking about the fact that 81% of SaaS partners are going to miss their target this year. And that was taking over 35,000 base, right? So it's a broad stroke. My belief is that the reason that they're going to miss it is because they rely on someone else, right? And my key belief, And what I do for a living is helping people to, similar to you, to get leads and exposure through getting their positioning and their marketing right. Because no longer can you rely on a SaaS partner just handing you leads, right? That those days are, are gone, and if not, they're gone any going faster. And there's 28 touch points before someone even comes and talks to you. And those touch points are predominantly done by agents or AI, right? And I'm going to ask you, how much is AI searching video content to be able to help them to make that decision?
A lot more now than it used to. And I think it's just going to increase for sure. I do want to just go back a step on something you mentioned, Paul. It was really interesting about being found with video, and building your profile and not just giving it to someone else to do in your business. There's this thing called founder-led content or founder-led growth. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it in your circles, but it's really where the founder of the business says, hey, I can't actually afford to outsource this marketing or growth activity.
Yes.
And I'm much better off just actually doing it myself. Because when you think about it, the first time you come across, you go, it's counterintuitive, because you think, no, it's going to take too much time away from me doing my actual business.
Yes.
But then when you really realize that it's the most effective way of growing your business, it shifts in your mind. And I think that's the first thing, is realizing that it really comes back to you. I've been through this, where I built a software company. I hired someone, a marketing person,
Yes.
specifically to grow the business, and it was a failure. Then I thought, okay, let's get an agency, because surely, we'll pay them a lot of money, and they'll just do it for us. They know what they're doing. Miserable failure as well. And we spent a lot of money, on that as well.
Yes.
And it always just came back that, especially at the beginning days, or if you want to go through a growth spurt or growth phase, it makes sense for the founder or the leader of the business to take that responsibility, wear that hat, and say, hey, this is mine now. I own this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to look into this and drive this thing and really make a difference. And it's almost like anything where you take that leadership, it just has a different flavor. It has a different feel. It has, and when you're on the videos, for example, compared to, say, someone else in your team, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. This really depends on your business model and the stage of business that you're at. But at the beginning, if you hire someone else to do that for you, either an agency or someone who works for you, there's a different energy that comes through compared to if you're doing it. Because you understand your business so well, no one else can speak about your business as well as you can. No one else.
Yes.
No one else.
Yes.
And I think that's what a lot of people miss. They think, oh, I've got to hire this expert. And it can work. Absolutely can work. And there's plenty of examples of, companies where they've hired or they've outsourced or hired someone else to do the content marketing for them, or the marketing. And it can work. But I think it depends, depending on your situation. If you're a solo business, or if you're a smaller business, you might not have the resources to spend a ton of money on getting that sort of help. That might or might not work. So yeah, just wanted to mention that. But did you have more questions about the video and AI and how that's coming up in search engines?
Let's tackle that one first, and then I'll come back and build on a couple of other points you mentioned.
Okay. Should we talk about the AI and video thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll do my best. I'm not what's it called, an AI optimization expert. What is it, AIO, or whatever it's called these days? I'm more a builder myself, so
yes,
I haven't fully looked into how to rank your videos, coming up in ChatGPT search or whatever else. However, in saying that, what I've noticed with my own experience in creating founder-led content for both Vubli brand, because we've branded content there, plus my own content as well on the Gideon Shalwick, we are coming up in the searches. Like if I just do a search for, let's say, I haven't done this for a wee bit, but let's see. If I do a search for Vubli in Google, so I'm not seeing it at the moment, so maybe that's a good thing. But sometimes, maybe it depends on the time of day or the browser, but sometimes you will see the Google result right at the top, which is like an AI result.
Yes.
And what I've noticed is, actually, if I do, maybe it's a longer tail keyword. Yeah. So if I do a search for Vubli review, sorry, I used the wrong term. If I do a search for Vubli review in Google, and you can do this as well. So it's Vubli and then review. You'll see that there are some videos showing up along with the search. So, the AI result right at the top, the AI overview, that result. There's like a bit of a tech stuff on the left-hand side. And then there's, what I'm seeing here at the moment is two video results on the right hand side.
Yes.
And so that's really interesting. That's not the normal Google results. Below there's the normal videos that are showing up. It's actually very video heavy for the search results. And then if I click on the show more, it also links to the videos, even more videos. So there's 3 videos that it links to, but it has 2 videos on the right hand side, before you expand it. So, without me even doing anything to optimize it for AI or whatever, like I would say I don't know anything about it. Let's just put it that way.
Yes.
With me being a total klutz when it comes to search engine optimization, it's been figured out for me.
Yes.
In any case, just because I'm creating video. And so that's really interesting.
And Google, Google owns YouTube. We all know that. We all know that that's what's going to favor the algorithm. So I think that certainly plays out. And just back to your points around who's best to do your marketing and sales, there's a great book called Ready, Fire, Aim. And it always talked about the owner's the best person in the first million, right? To get the first million and then you scale. I think with marketing, it's even more important. It might even be a bigger number, because if you look at the accounting industry, the accountants used to be really good at bookkeeping. Software came and replaced a lot of that, and then they had to go further up the consultant path. We're no different. Some of you may have started as developers, and that's what you did. Now with Claude Code and everything else, I've got clients building their own app developers. So they're building agent developers to do more and more of the coding. Your team are a lot more productive than they ever have been, or efficient, because of they're using AI. So then you have got to do what only you can do, right? No one else in your team can actually market like you can. And you said that. And I think also with the amount of AI slop that's out there, people want to see you.
Oh, yeah.
They want to see the real you. And to me, the best way to show the real you is shorts.
100%.
Yeah. And what's your definition of a short?
Before I answer that, there's something else that, sorry, this is just like really interesting you mentioned this, because I was just having a quick search and it just hit me, because it ties in with what we were talking about before and what you're saying about, hey, you as the founder should do this, like it should be under your name. In fact, when you create your social channels. Again, if you do a search for Vubli, and I'm sorry, I'm using Vubli extensively here because it's the most recent and best example I know at the moment. But if you do a search, those results, the videos that you're seeing from those results, even though I did a search for the brand, the Vubli brand, guess which videos are coming up? Videos for my personal brand. Even though I've got a ton of videos, I've got more videos on the Vubli brand for Vubli than I have on my personal brand for Vubli. Yet the videos from my personal brand is showing up in the search results. In fact, if you do a search even in YouTube for the brand keyword Vubli, the first video that comes up is from my personal brand. and then the Vubli channel comes up. So that's really interesting. And yeah, and so I just wanted to mention that it's got to be you. I think that makes sense. I went through so many different cycles of thinking, oh no, it's got to be the brand, and it's got to be me. It's going to be the brand, and then I went through like 20 years of insanity, and I keep on coming back to the personal brand. So it's just more effective. It's just more effective. It is a bit of a double-edged sword because it means you're more out there, and so you open yourself up for obviously more exposure and positive things, but it also opens yourself up for other things too, like trolls and higher trees hit the more winds, that sort of thing. So you become more visible, and it's pros and cons to that. So it's just something to be aware of.
Yeah, but I think in that context, most of us are going to still have fairly small followings. Like most of us want to be a big fish in a small pond. My whole strategy is you pick a niche and you become the known person in that niche, but that niche doesn't have to be massive, right?
No, in fact, if you well, it depends on your strategy. If you want to go for the with the big views, then you do have to niche up. I don't know. Yes. People always talk about niching down, but I think if you want to go for the broader market, there's more views to be had there. But it's more general in nature, and they might not convert. You might get a lot of views, and that's a good strategy if you want to get ad revenue, through AdSense or whatever. Sponsorships and things like that. But if you're a business and you've got an actual offer, then you're most likely much better off niching down, and going really tight on those sort of keywords, long tail keywords that your target audience should be searching for, and optimizing for those. So or creating content and video content, shorts video content specifically for that. And if it's specific enough, you're gonna rank. You're you're gonna rank both in AI and the normal search engines. It's you can just own the space if your competitors are not doing it. If you're the only person doing it, or if your competitors are doing it haphazardly and not doing a good job of it, you can totally smash it. You can absolutely totally smash it. So there's a huge opportunity there for business owners right now.
Yeah, spot on. And I think there's sort of three buckets of content that I always recommend to my clients. One is case studies. Two, and if we talk about case studies, the brilliant thing is you don't have to recreate the wheel, right? Most of us are recording every conversation we have, right? Whether it's, through Fathom, you name the software, we're recording it in some shape or form. So we've got that, which then we can create the video content out of it, right? You've done it once, you don't have to redo it. So that's one thing. The second thing is authority content. So that's where you might go to camera on a particular point and you say what you think about that key topic in your industry at the moment. So that's authority content's the second. Or you might actually have someone that said something and you then go and give your perspective based off of what they've said. And then the last one is personal stuff, where you talk about, you might be just walking down the street, an idea pops in your head. What used to happen is, and I'm guilty of this, I'd send an email to myself, I'd put it in my Notion or whatever, and that had never seen the light of day. Now you can just grab your camera and do it. And some
100%.
of you are thinking that is so much work, or sorry, I just couldn't do that. I'm an introvert, I couldn't do this. But ultimately, every time you get on a sales call, that's what you're doing, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah. Just speaking,
So
right?
you're already
If
doing
you can
it.
speak, you can do this.
Spot on. You do it every day. Every time you meet
Yeah.
someone new, you're doing it. Just forget
turn the
this,
camera on.
camera.
Yeah.
Just
And
think
when we
it's
say
someone
camera,
else.
we mean like mobile phone, right? That's
Correct. So I think that's really important. So if we get back to the point on a short, and the best channel for shorts, because I know you distribute to 6. First, what's a short, and then let's talk about where they normally go.
Okay. I'll talk about the short, but there's also something else that you've sparked in that I think is worth mentioning.
Yes.
We can talk about it afterwards if you want to, and that is, like you mentioned, those content buckets or
Yes.
topics that you could talk about. I've got some more to say about that if that's interesting.
Yep.
Something that I've just recently been experimenting with that's kind of fresh and really excited about. But first of all, what is a short? Great question. So we call it like short form video in the industry. There's different names for it, and depending on which platform you're on, they've got different names too. But in general, the umbrella term we use for it is short form video, and it's really just it's a video that's portrait.
Yes.
So not landscape, it's portrait.
Yes.
That's the important distinction, and the other distinction is short. It's less than 3 minutes long. So less, in general, much shorter, like less than 60 seconds. But the platforms allow you to go up to like 90 90 seconds or three minutes, like YouTube's 3 minutes,
Yes.
Instagram's 3 minutes now too, I think, and TikTok is longer, etc. The point is keep it short, keep it vertical. That's what you might call a short, a short video. So YouTube is called YouTube Shorts, Instagram is called Instagram Reels, Facebook is called Facebook Reels.
Yes.
Although Facebook is now complicated again, and it's like they're calling all their videos Reels, just for your information. TikTok, they're just called TikToks.
Yes.
And then what's the left? You can do it on LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn, I've been noticing, has been optimizing a lot more for short form, which is really good to see. It's awesome to see. And then X, more recently, just yesterday, Nikita Beer just announced, he's the main product manager for X,
Yes.
that they're going to give a lot more preference for video in particular. So, and short form traditionally does perform better on X as well.
Yes.
So it's a short video, it's vertical, and it doesn't have to be fancy. I think a lot of these short form videos that do really well, especially the ones that are more niched, are the unpolished ones. The ones where it's just the regular dude or girl on their phone having a chat, for a minute about something of interest, and they go ahead and post it everywhere. And now there are a few things about short form video or shorts in particular that you got to keep in mind. I can go into that now if you want to.
Yep, go for it.
Okay, so the first thing is topic, but let's cover that a little bit later because it's a big one. Like how do you know what content to create about? And I'm running an experiment at the moment which working really well for me. But let's just talk about the structure for a short form video. The most important thing out of everything is what in the industry they call the hook.
Yes.
You might have heard the hook in other contexts as well, but for short form video, it is the number one thing that people talk about.
Yes.
The hook. You must get the hook right because The reason for that is because you think about the viewing experience. Most people, 99% of people that view the short form videos on their phones is through their phone,
Yes.
and they're swiping with their thumb. So they're waiting to swipe away. They can't wait to swipe away. In fact, that's the
Yes.
normal behavior. The abnormal behavior is to pause and go, oh, wait, there's something interesting here. And that oh, wait moment is when you get the hook right,
Yes.
or the video gets the hook right. They go, oh wait, it's hooked me. It's like Pat Flynn talks about, actually literally throwing in your fishing line and hooking your viewers. So the hook is really important, and there's so much information on that. You just go to YouTube, type how to search for how to create a good hook for a short form video. Boom, it's like millions of things. It's almost like if you're a copywriter, you're actually in a brilliant position to have amazing hooks for your short form videos, because you know already what appeals to people, because the headline for an ad copy or for a editorial, whatever, was it Caples or Eugene Schwartz, all these guys, all these copywriters, traditional copywriters, they all talk about the headline being the most important thing. Like you spend 80% of your time, of your research time, on figuring out what is the headline, because that's the most important. That's the thing that grabs people's attention. So it's the same for short form.
Yes.
If you spend most of your time on figuring out what that is, you get 80% of it right. You get 80% of your engagement or people stopping right. So before that is topic. And I said we'll talk about that in a second, but let's assume you got the topic right. The hook is like super, super important. And then from there, it almost doesn't matter as much what you do after the hook, but there are some guidelines. So for example, there's like Daniel Batal talks about, short form content being no different to anything else. It's like there's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. So
Yes.
there's your hook, and then there's the meat, and then there's like some sort of either closure or call to action or something else.
Yes.
Or you can look at it from the point of view of here's the hook, and then there's a build up, and then there's a relief, or like a delivery, or I forget the word they use for it now, but basically where you deliver what you said you're going to deliver, and you sort of leave people hanging right until the end. Yes. There's a lot of science behind this as well. Like the longer people get to watch your videos, and if they watch it fully, that helps you rank better in the algorithms. Yes. So yes, structure is important for your short form videos, but the hook is even more important. So get the hook right, get a good structure, say something interesting, try and keep people engaged for as long as possible. Payoff. That's the word I was looking for before. The payoff. You leave the payoff as long into the video as possible, and that gets people to watch longer. And you don't want to be annoying, because people will swipe away if you're annoying, and they'll never want to watch you again. So keep that in mind. But you can drag the payoff off a little bit longer, and that'll help you get the view. It'll help you get people to watch longer, and if they can watch longer and watch right through your video and even rewatch it again, that's going to help you send a signal to the platform, say, hey, this is an important video. Look, they're watching for longer. Let's serve it to more people.
And is the call to action different to a longer form video, or just tell us a little bit about the ending of it?
Yeah, I think they're very different. In fact, with short form video, you don't in general want to call people to leave the platform.
Yes.
Or to even leave a comment, or to leave a like, or whatever else like that. I think it's more about the payoff, and leaving people on some sort of a high, or hey, if you're doing a series, for example, it could be like, watch my next video to see what happens next. That's sort of a call to action. It's not the sort of thing where you say, hey, go and download my free lead magnet over at www.leadmagnet.com, whatever. It's not like that, because the platforms don't want to send people away. So you lose engagement.
Yes.
So short form is very different from long form in that sense. Long form, you've got a bit more leeway. You can talk about, your website or whatever else. It's in general not as devastating for you as say when you do it in short form. So short form, you want to keep it simple. You want to keep people on the platform as much as possible. So if you have a call to action, make sure it's like related to keeping people on the platform. So you can have something like, check my link in bio, for example, or, check the comment or something like that. But in fact, I don't even have massive call to actions in my videos. It's more like leave them on a high, or it's more like
the question that gets them thinking.
A question. Yeah, correct. Something like that.
Yeah.
You got it.
And you sort of mentioned before, we've all done it, had marketing people, we've had agencies, all gone down that path. Most of them haven't been successful. The brilliant thing these days, and certainly for my clients, and you may be listening as a client, you've experienced this, is that I've created now, skills, Claude skills, etc., that can help make these amazing hooks, these amazing short form videos, right? So that has never been easier. Like now,
Oh my gosh, yeah, so
you
easy
can
now.
turn an idea into something that you record quicker than you ever have before. And the great thing is, like, we go back and forth. So someone will say, look, I think this is a great script. They'll send it to me. I'll look at it. I'm always the person that signs off on it, but I'll run it through my skill and it'll say, this is good, but change this. So, you can be
Mm.
iterative, but that's something that we've never had. It's making it easier and
Oh
easier,
yes,
right? So if you look at all
yeah.
the, I remember, interviewing back in episode 192, go back and listen, it was a similar topic, right? But back then it was like, it was like all these barriers,
Mm,
they're all being smashed, right?
totally. Yeah.
Um, so I think that's brilliant. So let's talk about content. I talked about case studies, authority, and personal. What's been the experiments you've been running, and what do you recommend?
Yeah. Okay. So the topic is the most important thing, right? If you get the topic wrong, it doesn't really matter how good your hook is. If you pick a topic that there's no people, like zero, no one's going to watch your content, right? So it needs to be a topic where people are interested in that particular area. So it's okay to be niche if you're niching down, but just make sure there's enough people around, who can actually watch your content. If if there's nobody there, then you're not going to get any views. So that is important. So if you're in a niche that's like extremely narrow, where there's no people, then just go, what's the next level up? And just sort of test that. Just go a level up and see what happens. But yeah, the topic is
And
very,
what's the
very
number
important.
of people? Like when you're talking about that, how many people are we talking about?
I wish I could give you an answer to say it needs to be at least 1 million people around the world or something like that. But I'm not sure if those numbers are really easily accessible. It's like, because how are you gonna, it might be available. You might be able to go and check and say how many, let's say the Software Monday, how many users are there? Or if I'm not sure if that would be a target audience if you're helping people set up the Software Monday in people's companies, or let's say you're an AI advisor and
Yes.
you go into companies and help people automate their stuff with AI. You've got to ask yourself how many companies around the world there would be interested in this particular topic. And are there enough? And it's going to be different depending on your particular thing that you're trying to help people with. And I think ultimately you won't know the real answer until you start creating good content that solves problems within that particular area.
Yes.
You won't really know. And you could even go after an audience where there's lots of activity, but if your content sucks, if you don't answer questions for people or solve real problems for people, or you're not entertaining enough, you don't have to be entertaining necessarily. I'm just throwing that in as one of the
Yes.
possible things that you can think about. But if you don't solve problems for people, then, you're still not going to do well,
Yeah.
independent of how big the audience is. But
And are
certainly
you
the
using any tools like Valio, VELIO, or anything like that to assess the attractiveness of a topic?
No, okay. So let me go into the experiment now,
Yep.
because for me there are these two polar opposites of views when it comes to creating content.
Yes.
One is the researcher
Yes.
poll,
Yep.
and the other one is the personality poll.
Yes. Yes.
And so the researcher poll is like, and the both strategies work, by the way.
Yes.
The researcher poll is like, say, someone like, Justin Brown from Primal Video. He's here in Australia. He's got a very successful channel. I think over 2 million subscribers there on YouTube.
Yes.
So his strategy has certainly been much more towards the researcher poll, where they would beforehand do a ton of research on keywords that people are already searching for, and then they would create their title and their thumbnail first, and then create the video after that. So the video is almost like the last thing that they create.
Yes.
It's not the first thing.
Yes.
It's they do the research first, look for volume,
Yes.
and make sure that there is an opportunity for that particular content,
Yes.
and then they go and create the content. They don't do it before. They don't create a video unless they know there's demand for it.
Yes.
Great strategy, works.
Yes.
If you like that sort of thing,
Yes.
if you love data, if you love doing the research, if you love doing keyword research, or if you've got someone else doing it for it, and you don't mind creating content about something that you might not be all that passionate about, but it's going to get you the views, right?
Yes.
Fine, no problem. The other pole, and this is where I like operating more, and It's a little bit more hit and miss
Yes.
because it depends on A, your personality, and B, whether there even is a market for what you're talking about. Because you could be, your personality type might be like super interested in a particular thing that no one else is interested in, or you might be so far ahead of the curve that it's gonna become interesting, but only in 2 or 3 years' time, And so, but when you're creating content about it, no one really cares or knows about it, but they will in 2 or 3 years' time. That's kind of where I'm often operate. I'm sort of at the, I call it front surfing. You're surfing right on the front, and it's before the wave. It's before
Yes.
the wave comes. So it means your audience is a bit smaller, a bit more technical, etc. But not necessarily. You can also have more personality-based content where you're in a big market as well, and people just join you. It's like the celebrity brands, like people follow you because of you, not necessarily so much because of your topic. So I've been running an experiment on that within that poll,
Yes.
say, where you kind of the strategy is where you ignore your niche. You just say, I don't give a shit. I'm not gonna worry about what my niche should be. I'm going to respond to what I'm interested in
Yes.
and create content around that.
Yes.
And that comes with huge amount of passion and energy. And for me, that's for my personality type, that works really well because it allows me to, like, I just can't work on things that I find boring. I find that really, really difficult. So for me, that's really important
Yes.
for me to create content about something that I'm excited about and that I'm interested in. My whole body language just changes when I do it. Like this interview, I'm really enjoying this interview, for example. You can see my body language if you're watching this. I'm enjoying this. I like this stuff. I love it. I love talking about it. And so you get me to talk about keywords, I'm going to be a little bit struggling a little bit more. So,
Is there a happy
but
sweet spot here though? Like, is there, like effectively most of the people, like you who's watching this, that is a tech business owner, you love what you do, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't be in it. You'd be working with someone in corporate or you'd be doing something else, right? You're running your own business. You better love it because you're in trouble if you don't. So, if you are in love with it, is there a bit of a crossover here where you do have a niche? You love what you're doing, and then you're creating passionate videos about that, but they're not as much keyword
yeah,
research.
yeah, right. So the algorithms are pretty smart. They don't go so much on keywords anymore. I mean, it's still an
Yes.
important thing, but keyword optimization is not as big a deal anymore. It's more about the topic. It's like,
Yes.
is what you're creating content on interesting for a lot of people?
Yes.
Because the platforms want to know that your content can attract eyeballs
Yes.
because they can then sell advertising. That's all
Yes.
that. So they don't care about you. They care about themselves. They just want to get more
Yes.
eyeballs and for
Yes.
longer. So
Yes.
if you're able to do that, then fantastic. So I think there is sort of a golden midway as well, where you can bring both those worlds together. I mean, what I
Yes.
often do, not always, but oftentimes, and in fact, this is what our software does at Vubli, where someone like me, you create the content first and then you optimize for the keywords to fit in with that. So it's
Gotcha.
like, so it looks at the content
Yes.
and then it analyzes that and says, okay, based on this content that's interesting to Gideon,
Yes.
what are the keywords that people would be searching for
Gotcha.
that would match that? So it's kind of like a lazy man's SEO.
Yes.
You don't have to. It's a lazy man's, and I wouldn't necessarily say, depending on how many people there are in your in your area of interest. If there's nobody, then it's not going to work as well because you're going to have a keyword that no one's searching for.
Yes.
But if you're in a slightly wider area and you're
Yes.
creating passionate content about that, and it brings in a keyword that a lot of people are searching for, yeah, it's going to help. It's definitely going to help.
Yeah. And
So,
and look, and my biggest challenge, I've got simple who, how, what, right? And the who is the most important thing, which we spoke about before. Get your marketing right and who you're marketing to, right? Coca-Cola, when I worked for them, we didn't say it publicly, but it was 14 to 17-year-old teenagers, right? That's who we did all our marketing towards.
mm,
So we go on a board meeting and the chair of the board say, I can't stand that ad. And
mm,
I
mm,
remember I said, well, that's great. And he looked at me and I thought, I'm going to lose my job. But I'm like, it's not targeted at you,
mm,
right? If you
yep,
don't like it, that's great. That means it's actually better aligned to my target audience,
yeah,
right? But you've got to, so going through this process, and we'll get to in a minute the fundamentals of how you use it, but that's why it's so important because if you're currently serving finance, real estate, you name it. You've got 10 different audiences. You've got 10 different clouds that you're trying to sell if you're in Salesforce or other software. It's just all too confusing. You're confused, and that's stopping you creating quality content, right? So if you really know who you're actually serving this to, then it helps the SEO be clearer on it, right? If you've got an absolute mess, it's going to be harder to clean it up. It's like fishing line. If if you've got it on a reel, that's a lot easier. If you've got it just thrown in the back of your car, near impossible. So that's, I think, where Vubli really helps to make that happen. So I know we could talk forever on this. I can tell you, you're passionate. I'm passionate about this as well because I really believe in it. But just tell us a little bit about how Vubli works. Like, how does someone get it into the app, and then how does it get on 6 different platforms?
Sure. So at the moment, it's all on the web. So it's through a web browser that you can access it. If you just go to vubli.ai, you can check it out. So it'll work on your phone too, as long as you go through the browser on your phone. So the way it works is that you come with your edited content, your finished video. It's already ready to go, and you use Vubli for distributing it out to, at the moment, 6 different platforms in one go. Now the magic happens where you upload your video, and then we automatically transcribe the video for you. And then we use AI to assistively create all those keyword stuff that we talked about, your tags, your hashtags.
Yes.
Like we call them captions now. We've just simplified it to titles, captions, and hashtags. That's sort of what they're looking for. And you can adjust this, by the way. We've built a way for you to add your own prompts.
Yes.
For each platform, and also context. You can add your own context files, and if you've been doing that in AI, you know how important context is. You mess up the context and you get a really weird answer. You've got really good context, you get a great answer. So we've built that into the platform now, and you can customize it 100% for yourself. So you upload your video, get transcribed, uses your prompts and your context files to create the perfect titles, captions, and hashtags for your videos. So it's so good now. With mine, it feels like I don't even have to, I still check it. It's like, because I'm intrigued to see what it wrote, but it's so good. I don't even edit it. And then you just press one button and boom, goes out to all the platforms in one go. Right. So you can schedule it as well. You can go, okay, I don't want to post now. I want to post it tomorrow or next week or next month. So you can, if you're good, if you're good at batch processing, you can create, 30 videos in one day, and then schedule them all in one afternoon.
Just change your top, other like me. I always wear the exact same top, but and have the exact same hairdo. But so there used to be a myth around that you had to have a different style of video for TikTok versus YouTube versus whatever. What I'm hearing from you is it's the same video, but it's described differently to suit the platform. Is that, or is it exactly the same in those 6?
You can choose. Actually, you can choose if you want to have the same captions. So just want to be clear here. When I say captions in this context, it's the text that goes along with your video. It gets posted with your videos, not the subtitles that get burnt into your videos. That's, some people call that captions as well. Yes. But I'm just talking about the captions that's alongside your videos. So on Instagram, that's for example what people call, you got your video and then you read the captions. So you can create unique captions, or get the AI to create unique captions for each platform. Yes. So that's where the prompts, they're called either single prompts or multi-prompts. If it's a single prompt, it's just the same stuff, the same captions for each platform. If you choose the multi-prompt one, it'll say, okay, now you can say, what do you want it to be for YouTube? What do you want it to be for TikTok? What do you want it to be for Instagram, etc.? So you can have those totally change, but it's the same video. It's exactly the same video. So when you create the videos, just keep that in mind, that, don't say something like, if you're on YouTube, go and subscribe to my channel. No, because everyone is different. Like it's on Instagram, it's like link in bio. On TikTok, it's check out my profile. It's on YouTube, it's like subscribe to my channel. So they're all different kind of calls to actions, words that you can use to tell people where to go. So in general, that's another reason for keeping it more general and not specifically calling out any particular platform. When you're creating
and I think the old saying where I didn't have enough time to write you a short letter, I wrote you a long one. Like every right. word matters. And my biggest thing with this, like I think there's some that are portable video you're doing is great, but also I've got right now I'm looking through my Elgato teleprompter. It's been the best thing I ever created because
so good.
I actually have a script, especially for the longer form videos, it's absolutely brilliant. So you can, every word counts. And when I did some work with a YouTube expert, he really honed that into me. Like, do not go off the cuff, because that hook, as you said, matters so much. If you don't get that right, and then that story format that you spoke about, it's critical to get that right. And I think, there's a good combination there of both. And just quickly, at the moment you're doing, so if you use Vubli, you're doing the editing of the video and then it's distributing. And as Gideon said, he's also got a done for you service where you just give him the raw video and then he does all the editing and then we'll distribute. So they're the sort of two key services. As I said, we could talk forever, but I'm just cognizant of the normal time. So what we're going to do is just pause for a moment, thank our sponsors, and then we'll come back for the rapid fire. Quick break. Take the big promise audit. 3 questions, 60 seconds. It tells you whether your positioning is quietly leaking margin every month. If you score 2 or 3, your marketing is costing you more than you think. It's completely free and you can get it at paulhigginsmentoring.com/audit. That's paulhigginsmentoring.com/audit. There'll also be a link in the show notes. Now, back to the show. So, Gideon, ready for the rapid fire?
Let's do it.
All right. So the first one is we talked about AI in your product. We've talked about some other tools like I use Claude, etc. But what's AI that's really impressing you at the moment?
Codex from OpenAI. So Codex is the vibe coding version of OpenAI. So a lot of people use Claude Code. I just happen to go down the OpenAI path with Codex, and I am just blown away. It is incredible. So I don't know how it compares to Claude Code, but I've been able to already, in the last 2 weeks, create 2 different apps that previously would have taken my team. I'm not a coder. No, I hire people to code stuff for me. So previously would probably take 6 to 12 months to do what I've just done in non-coder, have done in like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah. So
it's
cool.
brilliant. It's brilliant. What a time to be alive. What's your best go-to-market strategy other than short-form video?
Over the years, it's always been through collaborations, joint venture partners, or other people promoting your stuff, or sponsorships. 100%, because you borrow the trust that comes with the collaborator.
Yeah,
and that's, especially if you're starting from scratch and you don't have exposure or trust in the market yet. That is the best strategy, because it takes forever. It takes forever to build that. And it's a massive shortcut. Like, we just did a collaboration with Pat Flynn.
Yes.
And he, our product got promoted to his audience. So they liked Pat. Anything that Pat says is like awesome. Yes. And then Pat says, hey, check out Vubli. I use Vubli myself. And then they go, oh, it must be good. Let's try it out. So your ability to get wide exposure to your target audience, but also very high conversion rates through the roof.
Absolutely. And just I was going to shout out to Pat. You mentioned, because it's on the homepage of your website. He is a fantastic guy, and I've been lucky enough to be on his podcast in the past. And awesome. He's great. The learn. Where do you go to learn more about growing Vubli?
Everywhere and anywhere. It's like at the moment probably the most valuable stuff I'm getting is from X. So the way if I speak just for the last 2 weeks now, it's the process is a vibe code, put in a prompt, and then I've got to wait for it to do its thing. And I go, what do I do now? So then I just head on over to X and go, scroll a bit there, within my industry. And then the information I get from there is just incredible. And the contacts I can make from there is just really, really good. Aside from that, YouTube is normally good, but to be honest, also just chatting to AI. But you got to watch out at the moment. It sometimes gives you wrong information, and I think we've all experienced that, where it hallucinates or it just tries to.
A lot of the information it's getting is from humans, right? We're not perfect. I'll say no.
That's right, but it's more than that. It's like sometimes it gets it wrong, and then that, like, if you're say an expert in the industry, it got it wrong.
Yes.
And then you call it out and say, hey, you got it wrong. Oh, yeah, Sarah, you're right. Always has a really good excuse. It's like amazing at coming up with excuses. So, like it's like anything, apply your own wisdom as well and ask, does this actually make sense? That goes without saying.
And the thing that I liken it to is an F1 car, right? It's the car, but the driver that makes all the difference. And, like you and I stepped in an F1 car, AA Next wouldn't even be able to handle it. But, they have had all that experience. I think it's a bit like AI. People say, hey, I don't need a mentor or a coach. I've got my AI. I'm like, yeah, but it's pulling from the past. It's not pulling from the future. It can't see into the future. And
Yeah.
also, a lot of my knowledge isn't available publicly.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have the stuff, So it'll, who knows? We won't go down a
Yeah.
rabbit hole on super AI, but it's at the moment it's not there. Last one is what do you know now that you wish you had known earlier about short form video?
It's to be way, way less critical of myself.
Yes.
Way, way less critical, and just to get the content out there. So that's probably for me, it's funny because I've been, I started off my sort of career as an entrepreneur as kind of the video guy. Within the first 2 years, I moved into video and video marketing and teaching people about video marketing very early on. And then I went much more behind the scenes, building software companies and being much more behind the scenes. And then I became shy. I kind of became shy and older and, wear glasses now. And I didn't used to, and I look at my, videos now and I used to tell people, no, you just do it and you get used to yourself and what you look like. Now I'm old, I've got wrinkles and it's like I look weird on the camera or whatever. And, I'm not sure if I got something of value to say and, will people actually like all that stuff is BS, right?
Correct.
So,
and ultimately, no one cares about yourself more than you. So
totally.
My key thing here is you're just a split second in someone's day, right? And if you take that over their entire life, it's you can't even comprehend how small it is. So you'll remember that video forever and that mistake. The minute they've watched it, they've moved on. They mightn't even picked up the mistake because they don't know you as well as you know yourself. But B, they move on to the next thing because it's not the most important thing in their life. So I agree with you. I know it's harsh, but just get over yourself and do it, right? There's no other excuse anymore for not doing it.
Totally. And one little cool tip on that is to, instead of when you're creating a video, think about how can I create a great video and how can I do the best I can? You think, how can I do the worst I can? How can I create the worst possible video? And you lower the bar, you lower the expectations. And it's quite amazing what sometimes comes up. It just flicks your mind and goes, oh, hang on, it's not that important. Who cares? Who cares if it looks silly or whatever,
Yeah, yeah. Look, as I said, been fantastic. Gideon Shalwick Vubli, so it's VUBLI.ai. We'll have all the links in the show notes, but fantastic having you on after quite a hiatus, 192 to 687, but look forward to having you on again in the future in a shorter period.
Thank you so much, Paul. It's been great fun.
All right. Thanks, Gideon. Bye. What a great interview with Gideon. And he was so passionate, went a little bit longer than others, but it was packed full of value. Let me know what you thought or the interview with Gideon. The biggest thing Gideon left me with, and hopefully you, is no one can speak about your business the way you can. And video is the fastest way to prove it. Reach out to Gideon Shalwick on LinkedIn. Thank him and ask him your specific questions. Also, you can check out the platform on Vubli, VUBLI.ai. There's a 7-day trial there for you to test it. You can watch this episode, which I think is really important, on the Paul Higgins mentoring channel, given this is all about video. See you next time on the pod. That's a wrap for today's conversation. If it landed, the next step is simple. Book a 30-minute call at talkpaul.com. That's talkpaul.com. You talk about where you are now, where you want to be, and what's blocking you or getting in the road. If I can help, we'll go from there. And if you found value in this episode, share it with one other SaaS partner who needs to hear it today. Until next time, goodbye.